universe. And if you find you're tuning into a wave, well then I don't know much about being saved.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, friends.
Welcome into another episode of Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses. I'm Danny Jones.
And I am Samantha Jones.
And this is episode 144.
144.
Yeah. Getting up there.
I know.
Like 7 away.
But what are we going to do? We're going to be on like episode 3,482.
Here we are, year 58. Just
then
kidding.
what? Yeah, I don't know.
One of us will have a heart attack on
Oh, no.
while we're recording
Don't
it.
say that.
I'm kidding. All right. Well, okay. So what is the topic for today?
This is answering listeners' questions about pets.
Cool.
Yes.
This is always a popular one.
People love the pet ones. I do too. They are my favorite besides talking about the other side and spirits.
Right.
Always the animals. I love them.
Cool.
Yep.
Well, before we hop into it, anything you want to share from last week?
Yes, we have a lot here to get to, so let's
All right.
do it. So last week we did star seeds and indigo children, and people really like this topic, so we might have to learn more about it and get into it more. It's
Cool.
definitely a cool thing to talk about. I also did a reading for Charlie, and he messaged and said, "Good afternoon. I listened to the podcast. Unbelievable reading on my granddad." His grandpa John is who I read. "Surprised me with everything he told you. It's things I've always known as far as my family being wealthy and me being taken care of, but it's just crazy hearing it from my granddad. Very interesting episode, though I really liked hearing something that a lot of people don't know about. I really think you guys should do another episode about starseeds and indigo children. Thank you so much for the reading. Definitely have to sign up for a paid reading on my granddad, especially since I don't know much of anything." And we did do that reading, and his grandma and grandpa came through, and it was a lot of fun.
Thanks,
Yeah,
Charlie.
it was a good reading. Yep, thanks, Charlie. So I have a big story here.
Yeah.
I have an update on the story titled "Merry Christmas, It's a Girl," which is the story of me trying to find the identity of my real father. If you haven't heard the beginning of this story, that is on the Everything Happens for a Reason episode, which is kind of ironic if I do say so myself. So I had mentioned last week that I had a message from my mom that said it's not going to happen by sending him a letter. You're going to have to go another route. And then I had a night where everything was super clear, and I saw how this went down and how he didn't receive the letter. And there were a lot of details here that led me to realize that I did need to go through his daughter to get to him. And I confirmed that with Nisha, and it was so funny because Nisha was like, "Your mom wants to know why you're just not listening to her." I was like, well, first of all...
I was trying, Linda.
No, it's true. They were. But, this is a big thing, and I didn't want to make the wrong move. And I didn't want to go in and say, "Hey, I'm your sister." I didn't, and that's not how I went in. I
Right.
was much smoother about it, and it went really well.
Yeah.
And where we are now is that I have a new family. I have a father and a brother and a sister and nieces and nephews and cousins, and it is wild.
It goes on.
Oh my gosh.
That's exciting.
I don't
Cool.
even know, where to start. But my dad, the short of the story is my dad did know about me. My mother had shown him a picture of me when I was about a year and a half. I don't know if he knew my name then, but he did try and find me. And the reason why he came to find me, which is actually developing, I don't know if I've told you this yet, because my new brother just told me this. So my dad and brother both have visions. They're both psychic. And I was so worried about that part of things too, like going in and being like, "Oh my gosh, what are they going to think about me? I'm a psychic, Well, the way that my brother found out about me was through a vision. And he went to his dad and said, "Is this true?" And his dad said, "Yes, it is true. You do have a sister." And they tried to find me.
Wow.
Then that was about 13 years ago. And then about 10 years ago, my brother had a vision that I died and got really upset with dad, that I'm going to just refer to them as dad, brother, sister, that dad hadn't done more to try and find me. And so when I was found, he's probably the most taken back, like, oh my gosh, she's alive. But I think what he was seeing is either my mom's passing or the fact that when he was seeing these things, I was going through a divorce and I was feeling very alone and without family. And so maybe my mom was trying to get through to him that, you need to look for her.
Right.
But they didn't even know the first place to start. I don't know what steps they took, but they didn't know where to start. So this was not a shock to them. It was just a shock that here I am.
You were alive.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, we're building relationships, and I talked to my dad for the first time today, and he told me some really cool things about my mom and about myself. He told me that they met at a bar called Brennan's in Marina del Rey. And I just found out literally 5 minutes before we started this that I'm named after the bartender at Brennan's. That her name was Samantha, but Sammy, and my mom loved it. And so
that's cool.
Yeah. So there's a lot of things I'm learning about my mom, and it's really neat. And this is a big developing story, but I just wanted to tell everybody that we're here with it.
How does it feel to have an answer?
Overwhelming. This only came up yesterday, and so I've only had yesterday and today to kind of process, and it feels like I'm going through like the celebrating of having a new family, but at the same time I'm going through a mourning of learning that everything else that I knew was a lie. And I always knew, like, there was a weird feeling with John, the man that I thought was my dad, whose name is on my birth certificate. I always had this feeling with him that there just wasn't a connection there. And that's one of the things I'm having a hard time with, is that if she just would have been honest and not said that John was my father, I wouldn't have had to spend time with a man that I had no connection with, that ended up hurting me more than anything anyways, but I don't feel like, woe is me, why is this happening to me? I can't believe, 10 years ago, absolutely. 20 years ago, I would have been like, what is this? And maybe looking at it wrong. But I'm looking at it now like there is a reason that this happened. And that even though I don't really realize it, I manifested it. Because when I get really down, I cry about the fact that I have no blood family. And I remember, I think I've even said it on the show, when I had that breast cancer scare, I needed a female relative. I needed that. And it wasn't there. And so it was like I manifested this. It's so weird. It's so weird. So I don't know. I feel good, but I feel like I'm mourning at the same time. I haven't cried but a little bit today, but yesterday I cried all day.
Note to self, be careful what you pray for.
No, I mean,
Just what you don't realize, what I meant. It's like you don't realize how overwhelming it all can be.
It's very overwhelming. It's not a bad thing. It's just taking this all in and then realizing that this is my life. Like, a couple times yesterday I was like, is this real? Like, am I dreaming, or what is going on?
This is your life.
Right. But
Samantha Jones.
I've already had such a weird life that most people would be like, nah, that didn't really happen.
Yeah.
Like, who would believe this if I didn't have all the proof?
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh, her name's Amanda, my sister. She went on Facebook and announced it a little bit ago, and the messages coming in are, you guys look so much alike. But that was another funny thing, is that I didn't tell her who I was, but I did say that I was related, and I sent some pictures, and she's like, you don't look anything like us at first. And I was like, oh, honey.
And we're on the podcast saying it's remarkable how much you look alike.
But now she sees it. I think at first she was she was skeptical, but I think she knew. Like, she said she was bugging her dad that day.
Right.
Is this my sister? Is this her? Is this her?
Right.
So yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. So I'm sure
amazing.
I'll have more to talk about it, but that is the gist of it. And I'm so glad to have a little bit of closure to this.
Yeah. Well, congratulations.
Thank
you.
you.
Must feel good.
Yeah, it does, and they both brother and sister have listened to the podcast already, so they might be listening to this episode too. So,
oh, nice.
So thank you for taking me in and welcoming me, because I also thought they might be like, oh no, not another relative,
yeah, and
run. And no, it couldn't have that. Like, especially the brother, he's so. I mean, they're both excited.
Right.
Like, the siblings are way more excited than Dad. He's like, oh, I knew. But they're like, sibling, yay! It's sweet.
That's funny.
It's really sweet. So
cool.
So,
cool.
Okay, there's the dad story recap. Our whole episode is based on questions, and so I only have one question this week that's not animal related. So we'll just do that one.
Okay.
really quickly. Let's see. It's from Hillary. I love this question. I was just listening to a true crime podcast, and they brought up a good question. Can souls detach from other souls on the other side? For example, they were talking about this man that murdered his whole family and took his own life after. Can the rest of his soul family not welcome him, or is that not even possible? I remember you saying souls don't have negative emotions, but I was curious if that's something that could even happen, or do they really forgive all when we cross over? It's a great question.
Yeah. That is a good question, Hillary.
One of the things about true crime podcasts is a lot of the times they're when they talk about their paranormal stuff, it's more on like the spooky side and the negative side. Most of those people aren't looking for the light work in it, the love in it, and that's okay. There has to be different kinds of entertainment. That's not a problem, but when we really come back to what is the other side about, what is the universe about, what is the spirit world about, it's about love. And I don't know exactly how it works or why it works. I mean, I know why, because it is all love, but it is all forgiven. It's hard for humans to wrap their head around that because we are humans and we can't understand how somebody could do something as heinous as murder. But even murder-suicides. Like one of the things that I was seeing early on in the Gabby Petito case, I knew Brian Laundrie was dead long before anybody else seems to have known. Like he was dead before they even found her. And I know that because I saw them. I saw them together, happy, which may seem really, really weird because he killed her and then he killed himself and not at the same time, you know? But there's soul contracts, and we've talked about that. We should probably do more episodes about that. But there are soul contracts where we decide certain things that we're going to go through with people in life. And if for whatever reason, you know, like, there's always a reason, but let's just say like this murder and suicide, like let's call it murder-suicide, is going to have some kind of effect on the children in a positive way later, like how my mom's death did on me, or it's going to set off a chain of events, or it's all about the soul contract and about what is in there. So, you know, I think we're both really still kind of don't know exactly how we feel about certain aspects of this. Do you know what I mean? Like there's certain things that it's like, I don't really know exactly how this works, but I do believe it's 100% forgiven and love.
I do. I think when I think of things like on a grander, you know, situations that have happened in history on a grander scale, maybe besides just a crime like this one, for instance, that's just between two people, right?
Yeah.
Let's take Hitler, for instance.
Yeah.
Okay?
Oh, yeah.
A crime like this between two people where when they go to the other side, all is forgiven because it was within their soul contract. We don't really understand a situation like Hitler and how that came into a soul contract with 6 million other people.
Yeah.
So I don't believe that heaven or the other side is like compartmentalized in the sense of that, oh, we put the bad people there and we put the good people here.
No.
They don't do that. Because then that goes against my belief and what I've been learned and been told about the non-existence of hell. Me being compartmentalized and away from everybody, in a sense, is kind of hell. You're all essentially kind of in the same place, physically, I guess.
Yeah.
If there's some sort of... there is no physical, so let me take that back. Your energy is all kind of in the same place, but you're more about your conscience.
Yeah.
So those on the other side that have worked through a lot of their stuff, through lives and through karma, are in a different place consciously than someone like Hitler is.
Yeah.
Hitler is involved in a lot of learning.
Yeah.
You know, maybe he's got less free time to just float around and be selfish. He has a lot of learning.
Yeah, because your soul takes that with your bad in this life. You know?
But he's not banished.
No.
He's not unforgiven.
No. Yeah, it's totally different. And one of the ways that I kind of look at this, and I've explained this before, I believe, is that this is just one life. And we have so many lives. And so if we were shunned by the souls that that we had issues with in other lives, there'd probably be no souls around us. So that's not how it works. Think of it as a movie, and that the people around you now are actors in your movie. And when the movie's over, you get to go back to who you really are, which is your soul on the other side. And you could say, wow, we did a good job on that movie, or yikes, maybe we should rethink this next time.
It's hard when you're in this life, because we all want to think this is it, the one life. When you go there, you understand what this here really is.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a matter of learning.
Yeah.
And will Hitler come back? Had he been here before? Probably, and he'll probably be back a lot more.
Oh, yeah.
But are the 6 million Jews that were ordered to be murdered by him, avoid him, or, you know what I mean, do they hate him? No.
Right.
No.
Right. Yep. No, not at all.
And it's hard to wrap our heads around that.
Yeah.
As a human.
Yeah.
In a body.
I think we have to remember, too, like, when we arrive in heaven, if you want to call it that, or the other side, this is on a conscious level. This is another dimension. Mm-hmm. But when you go, it's not like the person that you just died with. Like, let's say there's a bunch of murders, at once, like a mass shooting. All of those people aren't together when they die. They're individually in their own place with their own people, learning, about their own life, looking back at it. But they can come together, and they do come together, and they have to, if there's something that went wrong, they have to work on that too. If it went right, then it's, good job. It's all about what you take from it, what you learn from it, and your soul's lessons, because really the whole point of all of this is to be closer to the source, which happens the more that you learn and the more you grow and the more whole your soul is.
Right.
And that takes work.
And I don't know if it's even as much, because we understand it, at least in our way of thinking, is there is, like you're saying, conscious levels in heaven or the other side.
Yeah.
There's levels.
Yeah.
And not everybody lurks at the same level.
True.
So, with that, you can move around heaven, like it's free to move around it, but you're consciously working on a particular level.
Yeah. Exactly.
And when we say that, kind of, it's either one or the other, or maybe both, I don't know. Moving closer to the source, or God, if you want to call it that, or opening your mind to the point where you're remembering that you are a part of that source.
Totally.
And that your calling is divine. Mm-hmm. So you have to shed all this ego and pride and anger and selfishness and gluttony and all this stuff by layers throughout lives to understand that you are actually a part of that source.
Yep.
Your essential being is divine.
Yep. And look at it also like a video game, in the way that, like, when your character dies at the end of the video game and then you start over, you may start over with your strength refreshing, but you don't start over with all those special things that you died with. No. Like if you had a shield around you, or you know what I mean?
Right.
If you play video games, you don't have those things. You have to start over. And that's what reincarnation is. That's what life is.
Yeah.
It's just a cycle of that over and over again. Mm-hmm. So...
Good question.
Yeah, I
Thanks,
love
Hillary.
that question. Thanks, Hillary. And then I'm going to do a pet reading before our pet episode. So let's do that. This is from Shannon. She actually posted on the questions. So in our discussion group, I posted, what do you want to talk about with the pets this week? So this is completely done by our listeners. We're just answering their questions. And Shannon had put this under there, but I decided to do this as a reading. She said, my dog has become aggressive with food, where she attacks my other dogs pretty bad. I reached out to a trainer but wasn't comfortable with her training method. Is there a certain method dogs like and don't like? I want to nip this in the bud, but I also don't have the heart to do it her way, meaning the trainer. Please and thank you. And so this is Daisy. And she said she's a perfect dog besides the food aggression.
It's cute.
Food aggression can happen for a lot of reasons. And if this is a puppy, I believe that she got got Daisy as a puppy. This can happen with the parents if they're not getting enough food and there's too many puppies and they're, they're trying to get what they can, then they grow up with this about food. There's also, we had this a little bit with Betty when she first got here, that we couldn't really give the dog's bones together because she thought that hers needed to be protected, that the other two were going to take hers. And it was because this was hers, and she didn't want anybody to take it, you know, not realizing that they weren't, or they would give it back or whatever. So I feel like it's the same thing kind of going on with Daisy here, that she is just like, this is my food and and my treat, my whatever, and nobody else can have it. So I have to, on my end, I would like to try something, Shannon, if you don't mind. I would like to try with her, and I'm not telling you don't go to another trainer, but why don't we do this? I'm going to try and fix this with animal communication. So I'm going to start now. And then maybe over the next week, every day, I can talk to her and see if this is getting better. Because I have people, like I do readings all the time, and people will message me the next day and say, my dog or my cat or whatever is totally changed, like in a good way. Huh. You know, I had a lady that came to me a few weeks ago that said that her dog was growling all the time and sitting snappy, and I don't remember the exact situation, but after talking to the dog, it relaxed and not having those problems. So I'm curious to see if I could do this myself. So let's try that. I'm going to tell Daisy, she doesn't mean to hurt anybody. She does not want to hurt anybody. She just wants her own space. And when it comes to feeding, you could just separate her two while we're breaking this habit. The habit needs to be broken. You know, when you have an issue like this, you don't just want to cover it up by putting them in a crate while they eat or whatever, because that's not solving the problem. That's just making it so that there's no confrontation. Yeah. But maybe while we're working on this situation, you can do something like that. Separate her so that you don't have to worry about this. And we're not testing yet, because I don't want to test yet, you know. There's also little things that we can try, you know, to do with her along the way to know if she's really understanding this, and we can talk about that more. But really, with Daisy, she doesn't want to hurt anybody, and she doesn't mean to be aggressive at all. That's not what she's going for, and I can really feel that in her. You know, she's like, I don't know,
looks really loving,
I just snap sometimes. Yeah. You know, and I understand it. Betty had that at first too. She's getting much better, but you know, these dogs, when they first come to us, whether they're puppies or adults, they have to settle into our situations and to our rules. And in this episode, I would like to get in more about what animals want from us. So you had mentioned, what kind of training does she want? I think for her that she likes this idea of this kind of training. I agree that the too aggressive, like we've had several trainers that are like, don't touch your dog. Put them in a crate every time you go away. You know, things like that. And it's like, no, there's things that we just won't do because it's not necessary. Yeah. You know, like Betty should be separated from the other dogs for 6 months. Why? We have a beautifully integrated family now, and she hasn't even been here 6 months, you know? There's, every dog isn't right for certain situations. There's certain animals that fits with, but Daisy's not one of them. She does not fit into those. So let's work on that together, and we'll see if we can fix this. So I'm excited to do that. And that wasn't my plan until that came through just now. Yeah. But this is something that I've always wondered is, can we train our animals through animal communication? And I don't see why not, because our dogs, they get yelled at when they bark and they have to be corrected and stuff like that. But most of their behaviors are corrected with animal communication, with explaining to them why the behavior is not correct and why they shouldn't do it.
And it's funny because I never really thought, they don't hear me. I can't talk to them. Yeah. They can hear me loud and clear. They can. It's the other way around that I have a hard time hearing them. Yeah. Or I just don't do it right. Because I get flashes of things and I can, like this thought, like, and then I realize, that's not my thought. They're telling me move that blanket out of my way or something. But if you take the time while you're talking to them, and you can do this in your mind you can actually talk, in your head, or show them, pictures like you said, you'll notice that they stop. Like, I can do this with them when they're kind of in the middle of being not aggressive, but like going to bark or
obnoxious.
They're focused on something and it looks like you can't get their attention. But I start talking to them and then they sort of stop and change their demeanor. Like, what's that? You know,
Yep.
like who's talking? Mm-hmm. And I realize they're hearing me.
Oh yeah, they're hearing you.
So they're listening. They're stopping to listen to what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. Does it last forever? No, but I mean that's how. Yeah. That's like a toddler, and this is essentially kind of the mindset of these dogs. Most most of them is like a toddler.
Yep.
So you can get a toddler's attention the same way. Is it going to last all day? No.
Yeah.
But if you keep on it, then that just becomes part of their habit.
Yes. All they're really doing is speaking a different language. They're not stupid. Mm-hmm. You know, they can be taught just as well as a child can. It's just that they don't speak the English language. And so to train them, we need to use their own language, and that's telepathy. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, of course, there's other ways to train, but if we really want to do it kindly and gently their way, we have to look at it as though we speak English and they speak telepathy, which is like speaking German or French or something else. It's just a different language. It's just done different, you know.
But I can still speak English in my head.
Yeah.
It's just somehow translated.
That's the telepathy, yeah.
They can translate it. Mm-hmm. They understand. But when I'm audibly speaking words, they don't know what every word, they might know, go outside or snack or cookie or something like that, but they don't know a full sentence of what I'm telling them.
Most of the time it's not your words that they're picking up on, it's the thought.
Or
it's your initial thought, because you might be able to even see that before you start saying it to them in your head, they're doing what you've asked, or they've stopped the behavior you asked them to stop. It's because the instant that you think it, they get that vision. And so, yeah, you don't even have to. I still do the same thing, and then I realize, oh yeah, it's done. Like, I don't have to go through all this. They already know, you know? So I hope that helps you, Shannon and Daisy, and we'll talk more
Thanks.
This week. Yeah.
Shannon and Daisy.
Yes, thank you. So let's get on to it.
All right, then. Episode 144, answering listeners' questions about pets.
Yay. So we have a lot of different types of questions here, and then we have a lot that are about like reincarnation and stuff like that. So what I did is I just took screenshots, and I felt like wherever I'm drawn to is the question I'm going to answer.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to do.
Okay.
But I do want to start with this one, though. Is there really such thing as the Rainbow Bridge? Been having a hard time since Dodger passed. This is from Jen, and she lost her chocolate lab Dodger. He passed. I know he's around, but curious, if there really is such a thing as this bridge? Everyone keeps referring to it like it's supposed to make me feel better.
Well, it is.
Yeah.
But I understand.
You know, it's a metaphor.
Yeah.
It's not really a bridge. When I connect to animals, most of the time I see them outside in a beautiful green field, especially if it's a dog. Sometimes cats. But if the cats like to be inside, I'll see them in certain indoor settings. But I don't necessarily see this so-called rainbow bridge. That's just a name for this place where they are. Mm-hmm. There's the whole poem about the Rainbow Bridge, and they wait for you, and blah, 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 all that. Well, do they really wait for you? Yes and no. They don't wait for you at some bridge. Like they're sitting there going, well, look at what the time is. Right. They're coming soon. You know?
Didn't they die yet?
I'm just going to sit here for another 30 years. No, it's not like that. They can come and go between the dimensions, so they can be here or they can be there. They can be the same places that the human spirits are. I see my pets that have passed with, my mom or whoever all the time. They're not stuck at some bridge waiting for you. So I think that the poem is very sweet, but it can't be taken literal. It's more of a metaphor, But it is beautiful, and sometimes I see rainbows, and it's definitely greener than green. Like, the only way that I could explain it to you is something out of, like, Alice in Wonderland. Like, the colors are so bright there, and everything moves, and everything's living and breathing, and it's just like this dimension, but much more beautiful,
Yeah.
So
I kind of feel like it's sort of another level on the other side. It's a plane within these levels that particular type of energy, because I think we pretty much believe that dogs and humans are different energy.
Right.
So they're most likely going to hang out where their energy is more compatible.
Right. Yes.
They understand each other.
Yes.
But they're free to roam.
Yep.
like heaven, like everybody else is. So you're going to bump into your animals. You know, they're going to come find you.
There,
You know, they're going to come find you when you're there. So
yeah.
But yes, definitely metaphorical.
Yeah, and because pets do reincarnate, and I'll answer some of these reincarnation questions next, but because they do reincarnate, they're not staying there at the bridge. And this is definitely something I haven't explored a whole lot of, like how this works when an animal reincarnates, but I can still connect to them when they are there. And I believe this is one of the questions that we had, but our soul has many pieces to it, and we can break off, and our soul can be in many different places at once. So when an animal reincarnates, there's still a little piece of their soul that's there. And same with us. That's your higher self, is that little piece of your soul that's still on the other side. And so it's the same with the animals, you know. They still have a little bit, so I can still communicate with them when they reincarnated. So, but Jen, yeah, the Rainbow Bridge, I know that's everybody says that. Oh, well, you know, he's at the Rainbow Bridge and he'll be there waiting for you. And you know what? Yeah, that is true. He will be waiting for you. The day that you die, these animals, all these animals that you had, will probably be some of the first things that you see when you get there.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know exactly how that works, but it does.
You will.
It does. Yeah, and it's beautiful reunion. So I hope that answers your question. Let's see some of the reincarnation. Okay, this one is from Kathy. She says, I'm torn about reincarnation. If an animal reincarnates to a new one, to someone else, how can they still be spiritually with us? For example, my childhood dog Cuddles, I was told he was reincarnated to a different family. And how do we know if our pet Coda is a soul animal meant to stay with us or not? So that's a big question. The way that I understand it, and my belief, is that animals are just like soul family, and they stay with you. And so, you know, there's some animal communicators, well, there's some psychics that may not really be into the animal communication so much, and so they may not have this kind of knowledge. They may not know enough about animals. And so they may be a little iffy on what happens in this kind of situation. So that too could be something like this family, if this dog was reincarnated to another family that you don't know, there's a reason. It could be that then that dog might come to you later, or, you know, there's some connection there. Like Betty. Yeah. Betty was with somebody else first, but then came to us. Right. She does have a connection to me. We believe that she is the reincarnation of a dog that I had when I was a kid. But she also had an owner before us who has passed now. And so I know that there's that connection. Yeah. And so when Betty passes, that soul might go to either one of us. And it might happen, you know, just like with people. You have different people that reincarnate at different times because they have different roles. And so with the animals, it's just kind of the same thing, you know. There's probably a connection, though. If this is really what happened with your dog, there's probably some kind of connection there that would make that happen. And so then moving on to the second part of your question, let me reread this again so I don't mess this up. How do we know if our pet Coda is a soul animal meant to stay with us or not? Well, they're all soul animals. But like I had a yellow lab Tahoe, and he was my baby. I loved him so much. And I thought that he was going to come back to me. And then I had an animal communicator tell me, a really good one, tell me, that dog is your ex-husband's soul lesson. They have to work together more, and so he will be with him. And, you know, that's okay, because we're all soul family. Even though that's my ex-husband, we're still soul family. The dog's everybody included, you know. So there's sometimes connections here that we don't even understand. So I would assume with that. But going back to the soul animal, like if they're always with us, they are always with us. Always. And that's what I mean by the soul can split off. So if I go to connect to an animal that has reincarnated, it does feel different. And I usually will tell the person, if they don't know, your dog, cat, whatever, has reincarnated. Right. But I can still get things. It's just different. It's almost like dialing long distance. You know, you might have to sit there for a little while longer while the connection is made. Yeah. But it does happen. And, you know, these animals will move along in our soul families the way they're supposed to. And if they're meant to come back to us, they will. And if they're meant, like Tahoe, to go to another family member, they will. But in the end, you will all be together. When you die, you will all be together.
Yeah. Just kind of like what you, to sort of cap on what you were saying, that the animals themselves are souls.
Yeah.
And they have lessons too. Mm-hmm. So just because they weren't reincarnated right back to you as a baby, kitten or a puppy, doesn't mean that they won't. Right. It means that maybe they had to take a different path because there's something else that they were supposed to learn. Mm-hmm. What it was that Betty was supposed to learn, I'm not sure, but I think she's learned something for sure through this process. Mm-hmm. And if your animal is reincarnated to you, let's say later in life, and this is also cap on what you said, and you pass away before the animal, then you'll be waiting at the Rainbow Bridge for them.
Yes, that's true. Yes, absolutely.
So you will all meet.
Yes, you will all be together. All of these souls that are players in your life, you will be with them again someday. Mm-hmm. Yep. Staying on the reincarnation topic, this is from Brittany. She says, when they choose to return to us, do they always return to as the same species? Do they remember us from before, or is it like other reincarnation where they lose their memory? And how can we know if it is our beloved pet come to us again? Okay, so starting with, do they always come back as the same species? No, they don't, but they will always come back as an animal. Yeah. Human energy is too much for an animal body, and animal energy is not enough for a human body. It's different lessons. It's different types of things. And you know what? There are different mediums that have different takes on this, and not everybody's going to agree with us on this. But from what we've learned, that's what I truly believe that. Yeah, that I was never a dog. Right. You were never a cat or a rock or anything else.
No, those have their own energy, but a tree's never going to be an animal.
No, but you can, as a spirit, go into that animal's body. Mm-hmm. You can do that for a very brief time, just to feel what that is like. Mm-hmm. You're a soul. You can do whatever you want, basically. Mm-hmm. But you can definitely. The animals will become. I think that Zumi, our chocolate Dane, is a ferret that I used to have. Pretty sure. Let's see. The next question on here was, do they remember us from before, or is it like other reincarnation where they lose their memory? It is like other reincarnation. They don't know. Betty has no idea that she was Ripple, my dachshund. No clue. Right. And you know what? I've told her we've known each other before, and she may feel that, or she may think I'm crazy, but I think that she feels that because this has been the easiest dog to train with animal communication. She's really smart, and I know she feels her owner. So I definitely I think that for sure. Let's see. Let me go back to this. And you know what? Think about it. Like Betty, we haven't talked much about what happened to her, but she was found in the desert attacked by coyotes, right? We don't even want her to have to think about that in this life anymore. Right. So imagine if she has to come back in the next life and go, oh, remember the last one? Yeah. None of us want that. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then how can we know if it's our beloved pet come back to us? This is about the universe aligning the situation, the timeline, and your trust. This is about not pushing a situation. If it's meant to be, it will be. And I've explained a little bit about how Betty came to us and how it just all flowed the way it was supposed to. But even with the boys, with our other dogs, I started getting puppy fever before Zuma, and that's not normal. I was like, I had a puppy, right? But I was thinking another lab. And Danny and I had always wanted a Great Dane, always. Mm-hmm. And we had talked about it. Someday we're going to get one, And then we went to the mall, and Marina's like, can we go to the pet store? We're like, crap, because Mom's got puppy fever. Yeah. And we walk in, and there's a chocolate Great Dane, Dad's favorite color, and the Great Dane. And he was meant for us, absolutely meant for us. But we could have not gone to the mall that day. True. We could have not gone into the store that day.
Well, I actually threw a disclaimer and said, we can go to Marina. I said, we can go. But we are not getting a dog because the last time we went into that pet store, we came home with Sabbath. So I was like, we're not coming home with a dog. Yeah. It wasn't Marina begging for the dog as soon as we walked in and saw
it was
Zoom.
you.
It was me.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm usually the level-headed one where I'm like, I knew we were going to get him, but it's like, got to go home and prepare and all that, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, it's meant to be. And you know what? Some people are not going to like that we got him from a pet store, and that's okay. He deserved a home just like anybody else.
Any animal.
Yeah.
I don't care if they're in a shelter or in a pet store, they all deserve a home.
But he was also on discount, and because he had been there so long, we got a much better price on him. So if we would have gone in there sooner, we would have had to pay a lot more for him. So see, the universe arranges these things. It tapped on our shoulder, one of us on our shoulder that day to go to the mall. It arranges these things for you. We overthink it. And I do that still with other things. We overthink it, but I promise you, the universe will bring to you what you want. And if you want, you know, I asked for a black Great Dane, and I knew she was going to have some white, and I wanted an older dog, and I got exactly what I asked for. And every other dog, like, there were dogs that I was like, maybe this is her. I'm going to try, you know, I'm going to submit an application or try and text this person, and they would never text back. That's a roadblock. Don't keep going. Yeah. When you see those, stop. Yeah. And so I would try other angles, and finally, when I found her, those people got back to me right away, so quick, and I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah. Well, I think the way to answer this person, who was this question from?
I think this was from Brittany, but let me double check. Okay. Yeah, it's Brittany.
From Brittany, Brittany's question is that if you're practicing this in your life, like trying to communicate with the universe, you can set these signs and communications and connections along the journey. So this way, you know, it is that animal reincarnating to you. It's not just a new animal or a new pet soul that you found in a shelter or a pet store.
Right.
If you wait until you get it, it's going to be harder for you to know for sure and to believe. But if you set the intention, like you're saying, ask for what you want now. So if you're saying, oh, do they come back as the same animal? If you had a dog and this time you feel like you want a cat, ask for them to come back as a cat.
Perfect.
Ask for the color you would prefer.
Yeah.
And maybe some type of sign, if you have a particular number or a song that you like, or a color or something to be shown to you when it's coming. So then that's your answer. Your question's being answered.
Yes. Yes. I actually had a bird years ago that I was really like, oh, am I doing the right thing by getting this bird, even on the way there to get it? And I had a ferret years earlier whose name was Cosmo. And as I was getting off the freeway to pick this bird up, the car in front of me had a license plate that said Cosmo on it. But there was something after it. I can't remember what it was, but I want to say it was a number that triggered me. Whatever it was, as soon as I saw that, I was like, okay, bird's meant for me. Because we're like, and I wasn't even thinking about soul level. I was just thinking, is this the right decision for me? But if it's not the right decision for you or your family, there will be roadblocks there. So don't, like, if you fill out an application and, you know, they don't get it or they don't get back to you and this goes on for a while, there's a reason.
Yeah, and some people might take that the other way. You know, this is sometimes how my mind wants to mess around and get involved where it shouldn't be. Is that I might think to myself, oh, this one's really challenging to make happen. I've got to stick to it.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I'm trying to make something happen that they're trying to roadblock from happening.
And they will continue to roadblock.
So if that's kind of happening in your scenario, and we've talked about that before, things you're trying to order on the internet, and it's not working, then it's not, you're not supposed to get that.
It's not meant for you.
Yeah, it's either a bad quality, your card's threatened, whatever.
Whatever, you know? So many reasons could be.
But same thing with this animal.
Yep.
You know, if you're being roadblocked, maybe this animal's going to grow up to be...
have health conditions.
Have health conditions where it doesn't live very long. Yeah. Or maybe it's feisty and not very nice.
Yeah.
These kind of things.
Yeah, for sure. Yep, absolutely. So always pay attention to those roadblocks and stuff. So, okay, so let's see. I think that's pretty good about pet reincarnation. If anybody has any other questions about it, for sure, let us know. We'll be happy to answer them. But let's answer some of these other questions. Let's see. Lynn asked, what do they teach us? And that's a broad question. They can teach us so much.
What?
Animals.
Meaning animals. Okay.
Yep.
I was like, what?
Really, if you think about it, they can be here to teach a person patience. They can compassion. It depends on your journey, what it is that you're supposed to learn.
I honestly feel that their main role here is to show us how we should treat one another.
Yes.
Now, some people might be listening to that and go, well, have you ever seen ASPCA commercial? Yes, I have. I'm not talking about those type of people.
Yeah.
I'm saying they're here to teach us unconditional love.
They are.
Unconditional love. That's how we should treat one another.
Yes.
Because most dogs can be around each other if they're different breeds and different colors and different sexes, different sizes. Most of the time, there's not an issue.
Yeah.
But yes, there are issues, just like in this world. We have feisty people that want to cause problems.
Right.
Well, they're a soul too, with their own lessons to learn.
Yep.
So, but I believe that's their main goal. There's a lot they can teach us, and you said a lot of them, but that is really the true, is your animal will love you no matter what.
Yep.
And even ones that get beat by their owners still love their owner.
And that's really the sad thing is you can be mean to an animal, and most of the time they'll just look at you like, what did I do? You know? So in that kind of situation, they're here, to teach you that unconditional love of, why are you going to treat an innocent animal like this? People don't realize just how smart animals are. Just because they don't actually verbalize like humans do does not make them unintelligent.
Yeah, I would say that most people probably don't even think that these beings have souls.
No,
they're just here for our entertainment.
Yeah.
To pet and cuddle and, something there when you get home. And for those out there that, treat animals wrong, you will have to look at that.
Yes.
You will have to look at that in your life review. They aren't insignificant creatures. They're here to teach us something.
Yep, absolutely. They are. Even the wild ones. They really are. Okay, let's see. Another question. This is from Elaine. I really like this question. Do our pets know how they affected our lives even when they have passed away? So when an animal or a human passes away, it's almost like there's a never-ending supply of knowledge is, I guess, the best way to put it. Because people ask me this all the time. Does my dog know that I miss them? Do they know that I love them? Do they know I tried everything? They know all of those things, all of it. They know what's in your heart. So, people will feel guilty after their animal passes about something that they did. But that animal knows in its heart that you didn't mean to do that, or that you tried your best, or even if it was a bad situation, they understand why it happened and they don't blame you, So they absolutely know in so many different ways how they affected your life. They're a different kind of soul, they don't do the same kind of signs. They don't have the same kind of responses and way of talking to me, but they definitely do have that unending supply of knowledge about, this is why this happened and this is who my owner is, and, whatever they need, they have that too. So don't worry about, like with the human, if there's something left unsaid, or, a lot of people are like, I wasn't with my animal when they passed, especially with COVID. That was a big one of, you can't go in and be with your animal, and then they put them down without you there if they're sick or something, and that was really hard on a lot of people. So if that happened to you or anything like that, please know that your animals know that was not your doing. They know that you would have had it a different way, so please don't worry about those things.
And you can communicate that with them telepathically even when they're not alive. You can talk to them and tell them those things.
Yeah.
Whether living or dead.
Yep, exactly. Okay, next one. This is from Lisa. She said, how do you recognize signs of stress? So that's a good question, and it is different with every animal. And I think that this comes with getting to know your own animal's personality, that they can show you a lot more of what they want you to do, Like if they need something, they can show you all of these things. You just have to be receptive to it. Our Great Dane, when he needs something, he'll come and get us and look at us and stare at us until one of us gets up and follows him to wherever it is that he needs to go. And that we've kind of, I don't know if we've trained him to do that. He's kind of trained us, like follow me, right? So when you learn these kinds of things about your animals, you can also start to see when they're stressed, the different kinds of anxiety that they may have. Because something that we often do as pet owners, especially the crazy pet owners like myself, we project our emotions onto our animals. And we may be stressed and looking at them going, oh my God, my dog's so stressed, when really they're in their own, world. When I was having my meltdown yesterday about my dad, these three were perfectly calm in the garage because they knew that none of this was geared towards them. But some dogs don't know that either. Like, and if you're upset, you're angry, and they start like acting different towards you, if they're like, hanging around you or like looking at you weird, running away from you, they're picking up on your emotions, and they may not even be directed at the animal, but they're picking up on them, and that's a time to kind of calm them down. Really, with animals, like, let's see, what's a good way to put this? We don't need to talk to them the way that we do. Like, people think we need to yell at our dogs for them to understand. That's not going to help. They don't speak English. Right. You know what I mean? We have to find other ways to communicate with them, and we have to find other ways to recognize signs of stress and illness in them. I can't tell you how often I get people that are like, my dog's been excessively, licking or doing this behavior or whatever, and it's not getting better, and I don't know what to do. Well, this is a sign that something isn't right and that you need to fix it, whatever it is. But some people will just let it go. And I don't know why this is, but it almost seems like it's because the dog can't tell you how it's feeling, or the cat or whatever can't tell you how it's feeling. So people just dismiss it as, well, they can't have a problem because it's not telling me. But what do you want the dog to do? What kind of behaviors are you expecting to see? And when I ask people that, they're like, oh, that's a good question. I didn't know about that. I didn't think about that. Because they're not just going to walk up to you and go, I don't feel good, or I'm anxious, or whatever. Yeah. You have to recognize these signs. And the best way is to get to know your animal's personality, so that when you start to see things that are different, that's when you start to react on it. If you're having a bad day and your animal is fine, and then you're projecting onto them if you think that they're anxious. You know what I mean? Like, if a cat's just sleeping in the corner and you're like, my cat's so depressed, what's wrong with it? Because it's sleeping. Yeah. But that's what your cat does all day. You're just projecting your emotions onto it. Right. So you have to think about that too. But animals will show anxiety in a lot of different ways. Barking, the tail between their legs, running away from things. There's fight or flight. So you just have to learn your own animals and what their signs of anxiety are, and that's the best way, I think. Yeah. Get to know your animals well. Yeah. Let's see if we have any more questions. It is 11 past the hour, which I see almost every hour. Let me see what else I have. Okay, Cassie said separation anxiety. That's all she said. And I said, the dog's having it from you, or you having it from the dogs?
Yeah.
And she said both.
Yeah.
Yeah. Separation anxiety is tough on both ends. When it comes to the dogs and the cats, whoever in the house has separation anxiety, although this does tend to be more of a dog thing. Let's look at it first from the dog's perspective, okay? I'll give you an example of what might cause a dog to have some weird separation anxiety, something that people don't think of. Let's say that you have a new puppy and you put that puppy in the bathroom and you close the door. This puppy now can see absolutely nothing of what's going on outside of this bathroom. It can hear things, especially if you're home, but it doesn't know what's going on, and this can make it anxious. One way to rectify this is, instead of using the door, to use a baby gate. That way the dog has a better view of what is going on out there. They can hear things. It makes them less anxious. When they do like crates and to be confined that way, but there's something that you'll notice about the crates is that you can see through them. They're mostly wire, and you can see, because the dog needs to be able to see what's going on. And so that is something that I think a lot of people get wrong in this situation, and that brings on separation anxiety. Something else with separation anxiety is leaving your house stressed and leaving your animals like that. And again, with Betty, I've done this because when we first started leaving her alone, we could see on the cameras that she was sitting by the front door and barking and barking and barking. And it was like, oh my gosh, what do you do when you're at home? But for me as an animal communicator, I would tune into her, and a lot of times that would calm her down, at least for a little while. But she had some pretty bad separation anxiety when she first got to us. And just really reassuring her every time that we left that we were coming back, everything was fine. She didn't need to worry. You know, like Danny was saying with the animal communication, just because you can't hear them doesn't mean they can't hear you.
Right.
So like if you're at work or something and you're thinking about your dogs, just send them a little message in your head. Think about them. Don't think about what they're doing wrong. Think about, are you being good? Are you doing, you know, are you okay? Are you happy? What are you doing? You know, just be good about it. Be calm about it, and send them those types of signals, and that will help them calm down. Because I could look on the camera and watch Betty, like when we were out, and see her standing in front of the door barking, and then I would tune into her and she would lay down.
Right.
But separation anxiety sucks. It is hard to there's so many reasons to it, so many things about it, but it does come down to the understanding and knowing that this dog can't help it, or cat or whatever has the separation anxiety, figuring out what the problem is and slowly trying to fix it in a positive way. If you leave the house and your dog destroys the house while you're at work because it has separation anxiety, and you come home and you yell and scream, that makes the situation worse. Yeah. They don't really know because they're dogs. It's like kids, you know? Yeah. And so you just have to kind of clean up the mess, and, you know, it's your fault. And I hate to say that, but if you have a dog that's like that, it should be in a crate while you're at work. If it's like last night, we went out. This was a good example. We went out and there was an Amazon delivery right by the door. I took it and I put it, we have, what do you call that thing by the front door? It's like a bench thing that you sit on, put your shoes on. I put the package down there, and when we got home, Betty had torn it open and had actually it was a book that Marina bought. It actually had like some teeth holes in it, right? She's been great. She hasn't done anything like that in a while, you know? But she got anxious because we left. Maybe it was something that I didn't do right. Maybe I didn't say goodbye to her. Maybe I was stressed because I was having a rough day. Whatever it was, she picked up on it, and it wasn't her fault, and I didn't take that stuff and smack her with it or anything like that. You know, I did pick it up, and I told her, this is not correct behavior. But I was calm about it. This is not good behavior. We don't do this. And that is a much better way to get through to them. Yeah. Show it to them. They know this is not good. And they will get it. They will. Just takes time. But the separation anxiety on the other side is a whole other thing, you know. That's all in our heads and changing our perception and reality, and that's probably for another episode.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think we'll stop there.
Cool.
Yeah.
That was good.
Yeah, I love the animal ones.
A lot of good questions,
Talk
folks.
about it all day.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Very cool.
Love it.
Love the participation, people bringing up some good ideas and good questions.
Yes, and if you'd like to be a part of this and don't know how, we do have a discussion group. You can find it on Facebook. It's Spiritual Philosophy Chatter with the Joneses discussion group.
Nice.
The link is on our page, too.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yay.
Well, before we say goodbye, did you want to share your other page information?
Yes. You can find me on the web at SamanthaJonesPsychicMedium.com. You can email me from there, set up appointments. I did want to say that if you email me and you don't hear back from me, maybe check your spam, because I'm really good about returning emails. So if you don't see it, check spam. That happens all the time. People are like, I didn't hear back from you. And like, check your spam. Oh, there it is. So yeah, make sure to check spam. So
very good.
And then for you, sir.
Yes, for my art, djonesartcollection.com for the web, at djonesartcollection for Facebook and Instagram. And that's all I got for that. Music, we're still plugging away.
Hey.
We're supposed to be getting back to rehearsals in February, so.
Fantastic.
Excited.
Very excited.
I'll keep you posted.
Hey.
And that's all I have.
Awesome.
Well, we hope that everybody got something out of this today.
That we do.
If you didn't get a question answered, don't feel bad. Don't worry. We do lots of pet things in between all of our other interesting topics.
That we do.
So we will get to them at some point.
Yes, we will.
And sorry if we didn't.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But anyways, we hope everybody has a great week.
That we do.
And until next week, peace and love.